Pickle is a beast in human form. Different than Yujiro, different than Baki. He is, in the most literal sense, one of a kind. Quick PSA, last vid got taken down. Berserk got my channel a copyright strike. I've been going through. So I've uploaded every vid that I've made up on Patreon so y'all can still watch them. Check it out if you so please. Let's get into it. Our story starts off with Baki doing some training while Gary is watching in the room. Gary came to talk to Baki because he wants him to meet somebody. Baki doesn't know who, but Gary just says that this person is the type that Baki's never met before. Baki's not really buying it because at this point, he's met all type of fighters that there is to meet. Everybody claims to be different, but they just end up being the same as always. But Gary is insisting that this one is gonna shock him. He asks Baki one simple question: what is the most powerful animal in history? Hearing this line of questioning, Baki is even more confused, but he just answers Yujiro. Is that what you wanted me to say? The strongest in the world. But Gary clarifies, not the strongest on Earth, but the strongest animal in history. Baki's giving these different answers. Maybe a lion, a Siberian tiger, and he don't know. He's not taking this too seriously, but Gary hasn't eased up in tension at all. He tells Baki that dinosaurs are the most powerful in history. Now, on to the next question. What's the most powerful dinosaur in history? Baki has no clue why he's giving him all this animal trivia. He doesn't care. But he just says a T-Rex, probably the most strongest. And as soon as he says that, Gary slams the newspaper down right in front of him. Looking at it, Baki's a little bit confused because this newspaper is in English and he can't read English too well. But he just sees the title up at the top, Man or Beast, and Baki is immediately intrigued. Real quick, don't forget to like the video, bro. What is you doing? Like the vid, subscribe. Y'all know what to do. Gary explains that this is a man stronger than a T-Rex. He is the most powerful beast in history. Flashback to where the last season ended. A group of these miners out in Colorado had just found this very interesting scene buried deep underground. They see a man in the middle of a fight with a Tyrannosaurus Rex. At first, they couldn't believe how well this scene was preserved. These things are right here in perfect quality. They haven't degraded, they haven't moved. It was in the middle of an action scene. But looking closer, they come to the realization that this human, who they didn't even expect to exist back in this Jurassic era, is fighting this dinosaur and winning. He's not the prey, but the predator. They immediately dig up the bodies and bring them to this science center to be researched. The lead scientist is named Albert Payne, and he's extremely grateful to be the one that they came to with this finding. He instantly sets one thing to be clear: this news must not be made public. Doing so would just cause a riot, so they gotta be real methodical when it comes to releasing information on the situation. Out the side, this dingy looking blonde dude with glasses asks Professor Payne if they're gonna revive him, but Payne shuts it down immediately. They can't just decide to revive him like it's nothing, though the group does play around with the idea of doing so. Payne thinks back to this group of miners in New Mexico who had found this drop of water preserved in salt. As they brought it to a different science center, the lead over there managed to extract it and find that it was seawater from over 200 million years ago, and the bacteria within that water had been preserved perfectly. The scientists proceeded to foster the proper conditions in which they could survive in and was able to revive each and every one of them in the span of just 4 months. Though they were encased in that salt for hundreds of millions of years, they managed to survive. Though Payne explains that they weren't exactly alive during the process of the preservation, but more in a state of neither life nor death, waiting for a period until the right, or technically wrong, conditions were met. But Alan, the dingy looking dude, is like, oh, all right, bet. So we can bring him back to life. And Payne is starting to get fed up with him taking this so lightly. But Alan brings up a good point. The scientists out in New Mexico were able to bring those bacteria back to life. So in theory, with the right conditions, bringing this human back to life is technically possible. And as scientists, they all can't help but be intrigued. So even though it's probably not the right thing to do, the restoration project for this ancient man begins. Now they give this man the name Pickle because he was pickled and preserved. Kind of a whack name, but it is what it is. Pickle. He's hooked up to all type of equipment inside of this tub of liquid, as it's been 90 days since this revival project has been started, but nothing has woken Pickle up so far. They've adjusted the temperature of the lab to match his Jurassic living conditions. They use these electromagnetic attachments on his body to match this basic living cadence, and this fluid is supposed to closely resemble his bodily fluids, but Alan is disappointed that nothing has worked so far. He dubs this project a failure. Back in his office, he's looking at this swimsuit magazine, munching on a little Snickers, but he has this craving for steak, and suddenly he gets an idea. He drops his magazine on the ground, running back to the test site, saying that he'll be the first human in history to eat a T-Rex. Over with Professor Payne, he's analyzing this tissue found in Pickle's stomach, and his findings serve as undeniable evidence that Pickle was indeed the predator in this situation. Those assumptions could have been made since they were preserved in the middle of their fight, but seeing the dinosaur tissue inside of Pickle's stomach proves it. Over with Alan, he's got this piece of this T-Rex on a skillet. He's telling himself that since he only took a few ounces, nobody's really gonna notice. That thing weighs over 10 tons, so it shouldn't be a problem. But of course, it will be. While Professor Payne or any of the other scientists didn't notice, the scent made his way over to Pickle, and the familiar scent of his prey makes him open his eye. Alan starts going to town on this steak, not exactly sure how to describe the taste of it. Not quite like beef, it's a little bit similar to lamb or even whale, which he tried overseas one time, but nonetheless, he says it's actually pretty good. And as we take a look at Pickle, he's fully awakened. He's been asleep for the past 200 million years, but all of that to him just seemed like a couple moments ago, and now he's in front of all of these things that he's never seen before. There are shapes that he's never experienced, clean-cut rectangles, lines running up and down, perfect circles, lights coming out of screens, solid objects that he could feel but see through. Everything just didn't make sense to him. But as he steps out of the tub and onto the ground, he makes his way towards the only thing that was familiar, the one scent that he could recognize. Alan is just sitting there eating his food when he hears slight drops behind him. As he turns, he's face to face with Pickle himself. Now the narrator chimes in, explaining that in moments of panic, humans aren't really capable of thinking properly. It's more like a jumble of thoughts and emotions surging in and out of the brain in rapid succession, not giving the individual any proper time to actually process them or make any significant conclusions. Pickle just takes the steak right off of Alan's plate and shoves the entire thing in his mouth, eating and swallowing it without even chewing. He just glares at Alan, and at this point, he knows he's cooked. Pickle starts smelling them up and down, and while I thought he was going to be able to smell the dinosaur on his breath, he just walks away. Alan thanks God for the fact that Pickle doesn't think he tastes good, though he's kind of offended at the thought of it. Alan reaches in the drawer, looking at the handgun, realizing that he has to be the representation of modern humanity. He makes it his mission to show one thing to Pickle: humans of today aren't to be messed with. But before he can even take aim, he wonders what Pickle's even trying to do. He's just searching around, and Alan has no clue what his objective is, but sensing the hostility, Pickle turns around, beginning to make this face and growl. Alan can tell that Pickle's mad, but obviously he doesn't know why. And as Pickle approaches him, he starts telling Pickle to hold on for just a second. He's trying to speak to him, but at the same time, he knows that Pickle doesn't understand English. He just moves closer and closer while Alan aims the gun, warning Pickle to stay back. Pickle glares at him, almost daring him to shoot, but as he decides to let off a warning shot at his feet, he disappears before the shot could even land, showing his face right behind him. Out of pure instinct, he turns around, letting off 3 quick shots point blank in his abdomen, as once again, Pickle feels this new sensation, but he takes the bullets out of his stomach. These 9mm rounds weren't nearly strong enough to pierce his abdominal muscles. Alan, of course, is at a loss for words. He shot this gun right at him from 2 feet away, but still, he was yet to experience the greatest shock of the night. This dude Pickle takes the ammo from his hands and hurls it right back at Alan, with 2 of them landing on both sides of his head, but the third connects. Blood begins to run down his arm as he's scared to death. He starts to try and escape, but Pickle follows right after him. Alan has nothing left he could do at this point, so he just starts shooting out even more rounds, trying to incapacitate him to some level, but Pickle just grabs him by the shoulders. Alan has completely surrendered. he's come to terms with the fact that he's dead. But instead of ripping his body in half, as Pickle is completely able to doing so, he just begins to shake. He shakes Alan back and forth, getting faster and faster, as when he finally drops him to the ground, he begins to growl and scream in Alan's face. While he was confused at first, he concludes that Pickle must be trying to make some type of demand. He wants Alan to do something, but he can't figure out exactly what he wants him to do. But nonetheless, he's grateful that since Pickle wants something out of him, he's not gonna kill him. But as soon as he's thinking that, he gets smacked all the way down the hallway, straight into the wall. He failed to remember that Pickle is still this savage beast. Even if he's not trying to kill him, he easily can. Alan makes another escape attempt, but of course, Pickle is keeping right up with him. He drags himself to this keypad in front of this locked freezer of the facility, but as soon as he opens it up, it was too late. Pickle is there, but instead of finishing Alan off, he's more interested in this room. As he goes in there, he screams, standing in front of the T-Rex that he was just hunting before he was frozen in the salt. And now that his prey has been taken away from him, he doesn't know how to react. Quickly, Alan shuts the door, somehow managing to trap Pickle. Not too long later, we see that the police has arrived and Professor Payne is going over the situation with Alan. Of course, he doesn't explain that Pickle only woke up because Alan was trying to cook up a Tyrannosaurus steak, but he explains that Pickle is confined in the freezer with the body of the T-Rex. It was his decision to call over all these police, and Payne isn't exactly too happy about it. Now that the police have arrived in such a big group, his wishes of choosing how to release this info to the public is now out of his hands. From the side, one of the chief officers pull up saying that they're about to raid the freezer and warns the two scientists that they may not be able to bring back Pickle alive. Payne just says that they'll never succeed, and as the officer wonders who he even is, doubting the police like this, Payne introduces himself and instantly bro tightens up, recognizing that Payne is a Nobel Prize laureate. I didn't know what that meant, but I just looked it up, and laureate means winner, so he's the winner of a Nobel Prize. I'm gonna add that to my vocab. But yeah, Professor Payne is well known for being a Nobel Prize laureate, and Payne just gets serious, saying that if they're gonna raid it, they need to bring in the army. Dude doesn't want to be disrespectful and ignore the words of somebody so prestigious, but he's well aware that there's only one person in there. And while he may have enough strength as a wild beast, it's not like he's King Kong or something. They should be fine. Payne says that's perfect. He was trying to figure out a proper way to describe Pickle, and King Kong may be the perfect description. As they're talking about this, there's an explosion from inside the freezer. As breaking through this thick wall of cement, Pickle just stands there. Seeing this, dude immediately retracts everything that he was saying earlier. He tells his men to get in touch with HQ and bring in the army immediately. Pickle just runs up, grabbing this car, lifting it and throwing it on top of another one, as the policeman doesn't understand what he's looking at right now. He calls for a high-level emergency. From Payne's POV, he thinks that Pickle lived to hunt his prey. All he would do is hunt, eat, and repeat, but that has not been taken away from him. As a result, he's enraged. Obviously, the police aren't enough to take care of the situation, so they call in the army immediately. The police told them that there was an armed terrorist at a nuclear site, but upon getting there, they find out that that was obviously a lie. The leader representing the army says that lying about something like that is unforgivable in every single situation except for this one. This one man does indeed have that much destructive power. Seeing that he doesn't have any weapons, the army chief wonders why they didn't just shoot him down, but Payne doesn't have time to explain. He just tells him that that man right there is more valuable to humanity than any president of any country. He must be kept alive. And the armyman isn't exactly sure why, but since Professor Payne is a Nobel laureate, he decides to comply with his request. They'll capture Pickle without causing any harm. And to do so, they're gonna deploy this special machine that's been in development for the past year in secret. They're bringing out the MPBM, a multi-purpose battle machine. The person being trained to operate this machine has spent the past year of his life within it. He's comfortable enough to eat delicate foods, or strong enough to lead a pack of lions, or destroy military vehicles. He could do it all. The machine's capable of doing all of these complex, fine movements while also having the strength unmatched by any human. The operator in the MPBM steps up to Pickle as the military chief wonders why Pickle's just sitting there. Professor Payne can only theorize that he's protecting something. Feeling threatened by all of these strange things and people around him, he's defending his era from the modern times. The only thing that's familiar to him was his prey. And since that's dead, he won't let these people take it away from him. From the change of modern times, he's defending everything that he knows in life, as the fight between the MPBM and Pickle begins. Pickle throws one punch directly to the center of his opponent, and while the MPBM was able to wrap its arm or claw around Pickle's neck, he shatters through the plate of armor. After one simple hit, the operator gives up on trying to capture Pickle alive, knowing that if he doesn't, then he'll die. He starts trying to spin the claw around Pickle's neck, causing his head to shake back and forth. But once Pickle grabs it, he plants his foot, lifting the entire machine into the air, so now it is spinning around the claw. Shortly after, it flies off the hinge, as now Pickle just screams. The army that came through wasn't enough, and now they're bringing these helicopters and military tanks onto the scene. The chief of the US military special forces is Gary, and he's having this inner monologue, wondering if a single living being is really challenging the greatest army in the world. Even with the latest technology, it's still not enough. This beast is doing more than holding its own. To him, that's unacceptable. As they approach Pickle, one of his men lets him know, and he tells everybody to stop. He steps out of his tank, telling them that he'll be right back. Gary walks towards him, and he takes off his hat and his jacket, gradually making his way there until he's standing right in front of Pickle. He's taking off all his clothes in order to seem more familiar to him, as Pickle can realize that Gary isn't looking down on him with hatred or fear. His eyes are filled with compassion. Gary extends his hand, telling Pickle that he wants to learn more about him. And while of course Pickle can't understand what Gary's saying, the message still got through. Pickle grabs his hand as Gary plans on taking Pickle to a place where there are others like him, other beasts residing on Earth. Pickle is heading to Japan. Not too long later, we see a military plane landing at this Japanese terminal. We're hearing things from the perspective of these news reporters, as they're giving commentary on this widely popular event. This is exactly what Payne didn't want to happen. After the police and eventually the army got involved, word got out, and now Pickle is this worldwide phenomenon. He caused plenty of commotion over in the US, and now his trip to Japan is being covered extensively. Reporters are all there in person, while at home, all across the country, people are glued to their TVs. Even at Baki's place, he's there watching with Gary, and as Pickle steps off the plane, he's surrounded by a swarm of like 12 soldiers. He's towering over them, and just seeing through the TV, Baki is instantly aware of Pickle's strength. The TV reporters call to their on-scene reporter, Ms. Aizawa, as they ask her if she can get up close to him and try to get him to speak, and gladly she accepts. She runs up past the line of all the other reporters trying to get in close and talk to him, and while the soldiers warn her to stay back, Pickle shoves them out the way, leaning in, making this intense direct eye contact with her. Pickle grabs her by the face and tackles her to the ground, as nobody can fathom what they're beginning to witness, neither those in person nor watching on TV. All at a loss for words, nobody said a thing. As Pickle ripped both of their clothes off, the soldiers finally snap back into it. They quickly take action, but as demonstrated earlier, the strength of modern humans can't compare to Pickle. Punches and kicks are being rained down on him, but that didn't matter. He's beginning to show his true nature as the wild beast that he is. And as the spectators wonder what he'll do next, Pickle just settles down on the ground, falling asleep. How could a savage beast like this even exist in today's world? What kind of phenomenon would need to take place in order for a being to survive 200 million years past its birth? Professor Payne gives his theory. He gives the basic rundown on how dinosaurs roamed the earth in surplus until a meteor came and crashed down. The impact from said meteor created this ginormous cloud of dust, large and dense enough to block the earth from the sun's rays. And due to both of those factors, the earth plunged in temperature to that of its surrounding space, causing all life on earth to freeze. The impact from the meteor caused the plates from the earth to shift, which had allowed this battle, frozen in time, to be preserved miles underground. Of course, this battle was the battle between that T-Rex and Pickle. After being found, the T-Rex was too badly injured for it to be recovered, though Pickle was practically unharmed. That's how he came to be today. He gives a word on the tragic incident involving Ms. Aizawa at the airport, feeling nothing but regret for there being a victim of Pickle in a situation like this. But he asks everybody to try and understand that Pickle is practically coming from a whole different world. 200 million years ago, this earth was nothing like it is today. The morals, ethics, and practical guidelines that all humans understand are impossible for him to comprehend. Even though he tried his best to explain, the people are still in outrage. Civilians are all lined up outside of this US military base, demanding that Pickle gets punished for his actions. Regardless of what area he came from, this is unacceptable. Though the military has yet to make any comment on the situation, emerging from the crowd, we see somebody not here to protest, but to make his way in, telling the guards that he knows that Pickle is there and he's gonna go and see him. Yujiro begins to step forward, but the guard puts his gun straight to Yujiro's chest, stopping him. While over on the side, in the shadows, Retsu jumps this 10-foot tall fence. Inside the facility, we see that Pickle is being contained there in this tiny little room. Inside the room, they decorated it with this little tire, books, a pond, and a toy dinosaur. The guarding officers aren't even sure why they placed these things there specifically, but his partner tells him to pipe down. There's no point in wondering, they just gotta do their job. Over with Retsu, he says that he feels some type of way about Pickle ever since he's seen him appear on TV for the very first time. On first sight, he knew that he had to come see him in person. A guard comes walking up as it seems that Retsu's about to get caught, but as soon as he walks past, Retsu knocks on the tank of the truck that he was hiding behind, and as the guard turns to see what the noise was, he disappears right behind him. He's all up in his skin, perfectly mimicking this officer's steps in order to not make any noise, as this is his perfect opportunity to get around the base without getting caught. Over at the entrance of the base, Yujiro is taking the complete opposite approach. He's forcing his way through. Yujiro warns them all that things are about to get ugly, as we don't even get to see the action. We get a testimony from one of the witnesses in the crowd. He says that as Yujiro got upset, everybody there could feel the heat radiating from his body, and out of nowhere, the soldiers began to punch each other repeatedly. As these two are going back and forth at it, the third one didn't try to stop them, but instead began punching himself. Yujiro just sat there and watched the entire time. After a while, he walks up to the gate, but the soldiers continue to hit each other rather than trying to stop him, as he nor anybody else in the crowd could understand what was going on. The only logical assumption was that they were punishing each other before Yujiro got the chance to do so. This continued, getting worse and worse until Yujiro gave them the order to stop, and almost as if they had gotten a command from the US president himself, they stopped instantly. Yujiro explains to them that they made the right choice. If they had tried to run or attack him, he would have slaughtered them all without a second thought, but they decided to hurt themselves, the only correct decision. For doing so, he'll forgive them and let them leave with their lives, as the soldiers felt nothing but relief. Though they were all beaten to a pulp by each other, they couldn't be happier. Yujiro walks up and slices through the metal lock on the door with his bare hands. As casually, he walks inside and nobody even dared to stop him. Over with Retsu, he's still following in this dude's footsteps. But the problem is, he doesn't know where Pickle is. This military base is huge, and he doesn't have the time to individually check each building on his own. But suddenly, the soldier he was tailing runs into another patrolman. And this dude Retsu is still able to mimic his movements perfectly, bruh. It's comedy. While I thought that it would have been bad news for Retsu to run into another officer, it turns out this is exactly what he needed, because this other officer is en route to circle Pickle's building right now. So Retsu switches targets from the OG guard who had almost caught him to this other dude. He's following in his shadow perfectly, as expected, but when the light tower just happens to fall on the soldier, he looks down to see this long braid of hair. Obviously, this dude don't got hair like that. But before he can turn around and fully react, Retsu knocks him out, apologizing for having to do so. He drags him off to the side as he climbs a separate tower, looking down at the special building where Pickle's being kept. He has his own base inside of this military base, guarded by its own fence and group of soldiers. Retsu uses his rope to secure a path over there from above so that nobody spots him. But as he makes it to the roof, the hatch on top is already open. Somebody got there before him. As he drops down into the level where Pickle's cage is, we run into a familiar face. I'm not gonna lie, I forgot who bro was. The first person that came to mind was the guy who had faced off against Dorian in his little hideout, getting completely washed, and then he pulled back up on him at the amusement park. But nah, that dude's name is Kato, where this dude is Kosho, the younger brother of that Dr. Kariha, and also the one who had lost to Doyle in his hotel room. It's crazy that I could really only describe these dudes by their losses, but hey, I'm sure they got much more lore from the OG series and the OVA. Maybe I'll get around to those one day. Anyways, they both realize that they're here to see Pickle. Why else would they go through all the trouble to sneak to a military base like this? Kosho was immediately intrigued when he saw him and his savagery on TV. He had to come here to see him, and if possible, he wanted to fight. Both he and Retsu managed to get here, but Kosho came first. But it turns out he actually didn't. The dinosaur starts shaking violently, as breaking through it is this dude Dappo. He was sitting inside of this dinosaur the entire time. But not even he was the first to get here, because coming up out the water, Jack shows up. He was holding his breath for who knows how long. Making it a whole party, this dude Shibukawa crawls out from underneath the bed, and Katsumi breaks in through the wall from the side. Jaku drops in from a vent above as all these people are popping up out of nowhere. It's this whole circus. All of them here for Pickle. But since everybody is showing their face all at once with the same objective, they know that only one of them can actually fight Pickle. Before deciding who gets to fight, they check on Pickle himself, as through all this commotion, Pickle isn't threatened not one bit. He's still lying there, sleeping. He doesn't see these people here as enemies at all. Now, Jack, being the way that he is, kicks the side of the tree, waking Pickle up. He's not gonna sit here and let Pickle disrespect him by getting this sweet rest while he's in Jack's presence. But as Pickle gets up out of the tree, towering over everybody but Jack, he starts to relieve himself, still not showing any type of respect to any of the fighters there. He's just going on about his business, all until something from the side catches his eye. Standing by the entrance that Katsumi made, Yujiro just stares on, and Pickle takes notice. Walking up to the glass, Yujiro refers to everybody else here as, quote, a ragtag mob, and he can't believe that everybody just happened to pull up on Pickle all at the same time. But from the side, Katsumi, of all people, gets offended that Yujiro was calling him a part of this, quote, ragtag mob. He doesn't know who Yujiro's talking to. I can't believe that Katsumi is the one to call Yujiro out. He's probably the weakest one here, if we being honest, and clearly Yujiro can't believe it neither. He just looks over at Katsumi, telling him this is why nobody likes him. Not Yujiro, not Baki, not even Katsumi's father. Hearing that strikes a nerve in Katsumi's brain. Yujiro continues to go on and on, talking about Katsumi and how weak he is and how much he is a disappointment to his family and the people around him. And going through Katsumi's brain is only one thought. There's only one thing that he felt like he could do in a situation like this. He responds to Yujiro by attacking. He sends out this sweeping kick. As he lands, Yujiro was of course unaffected. He plants his foot back down, realizing that his shoe is completely undone. The shoelace was snatched off of it by Yujiro in the middle of his kick. He didn't even choose to attack him back, but just to completely embarrass him. Yujiro takes the lace, throwing it at his face, tying it behind his head, completely shutting him down. I've never seen somebody get embarrassed like this. That's wild. He turns to face Pickle, telling everybody to get the hell out the way. He's here to make his introduction. Kosho offers to give him the key that he stole off the officer, but Yujiro just calls him a fool. Through this military grade protective barrier, he begins to walk through it and stretch it all the way out. Without using his hands or any special impact to break through, the pure force of his legs and his body allows Yujiro to shatter the glass, greeting Pickle face to face. Yujiro breaks down the situation. Everybody went out of their way in order to get into this facility and greet Pickle and fight him. In a way, he should be honored. Pickle is this ancient fighter back from the Jurassic area, where he preyed on the most powerful creatures on Earth. If he wanted to, he could have ate and fed himself in any way that he wanted. But he decided to fight and kill the strongest enemies available to him. And for that, Yujiro grants him the honor of his own interest. Yujiro extends his hand for a fist bump, and as Pickle puts his fist to it, this impact shines throughout the room. As Yujiro makes his presence known, Pickle can feel it, as that of a dinosaur he's never seen before. He steps in, responding with the force of his own, as Yujiro flips Pickle around 360 degrees, putting him flat on his butt. He's genuinely shocked that Pickle had forced him into making a move when he didn't plan on doing so. Pickle just stands up on his feet after that, and just the act of him standing, for some odd reason, just amazes everybody in attendance. Curious as to what he's gonna do next, nobody can leave now, but they hear a voice radiating from outside, telling Yujiro to exit the building immediately. They've got it completely surrounded. As he steps outside, the commander-in-chief comes sprinting to the entrance as he tightens his stance, saluting Yujiro, apologizing for being a disturbance while he was enjoying himself. He gives an introduction with his name and his position in his squadron, as Yujiro can't believe that he's arresting him so politely. But the commander says he's not arresting him. He knows that the army would never be able to arrest Yujiro, so he's not even trying. He he's here to simply make a request. He asks Yujiro to withdraw from this fight. He explains that Pickle is a treasure to humanity, and he doesn't want Yujiro to destroy him. It's not his place to ask Yujiro to follow his orders, but he asks that Yujiro understand. Looking down on the soldier who's on his knees at this point, Yujiro says only on one condition will he withdraw. They have to let the other 8 in there leave as well. I'm surprised that Yujiro did this, but he explains that they all know that the other intruders aren't here to destroy or steal anything. They're here for the same reason that Yujiro is. But if the officer has a problem with that, then Yujiro can handle it. But immediately, the officer's begging that Yujiro doesn't intervene. And just like that, at Yujiro's request, all 8 intruders who broke illegally into this high security military base were completely let off the hook. They were driven off in this truck and released 10 miles away. Now, if you take count of the people there, we see that there's only 7 other intruders, but Yujiro had caught out 8 because he saw somebody who was hiding in the shadows who had never revealed himself. The entire time, Gaia was there, camouflaged with this tree, as he just makes his own escape. Funny enough, we see somebody who looks eerily close to Gaia back at the protest, but I don't think it's exactly him, because his do-rag looks a little bit different and his pants might be different. I don't know. It's probably not him, but it resembles him close enough. Baki is having some lemonade with Romina, as he asks Baki if he thinks he could take Pickle down. But Baki's got no interest. He's well aware that Pickle is a treasure to society. You can't just walk up and fight him. That'd be like trying to break into a pyramid and live there. It's a historical artifact that's not to be messed with. Romina is persistent on the fact that Pickle's so strong and how he used to prey on T-Rexes. Baki has to, at the very least, be interested since he fought that praying mantis not too long ago. But Baki explains his rationale of only wanting to get stronger in order to defeat his father. He only fought that extremely large praying mantis because his father is just that strong. But Pickle, that's unnecessary. Romina calls out that Baki, when talking about his dad, always seems happy. He has this excited expression on his face anytime he speaks on fighting his father. He didn't recognize it, but Romina says that it's true. Over with Pickle, we see him in his little room as it's been destroyed due to the intruders, but he's just sitting inside of his tree, thinking about that earlier interaction with Yujiro. He's replaying that moment over and over in his head. He doesn't know how he was spun around in the way that he was. None of his other enemies have ever done something like that. This moment was a puzzle that appeared in Pickle's mind, offering a new type of stimulation that honestly made him happy. At the Kung Fu Training and Research Center, Retsu is demonstrating this technique on these cement bricks. The instructor is calling out a number, and Retsu is breaking that specific brick in the stack through one punch at the beginning. So he calls out 9, and Retsu breaks the 9th block. He calls out 7, and he breaks the 7th block. After the final one, everybody is amazed as we see that Baki is also there in the crowd. They meet to chat after as Baki asks Retsu to teach him Kung Fu. He sees Retsu as a martial arts veteran, knowing that there's a lot that he could teach him, but unexpectedly, Retsu turns him down. He explains that he's not interested in Baki. The only thing he cares about is Pickle. Baki tries to explain to him that Pickle's a national treasure and it makes no sense to fight him, but Retsu already knows all of this. Still, he can't stop his desire to fight him. He wants to touch Pickle, to grasp. This is crazy how they said it. It's crazy. He wants to see how his martial arts of the past 4,000 years stacks up against this prehistoric man. And even though he knows that it's wrong, nothing can stop him. As Baki's making his leave, he's upset that everybody is so fixated on Pickle. All of Japan can't stop thinking about him. Tokugawa, Professor Payne, and Gary are accompanied by these guards, all surrounding Pickle at the underground arena. Currently, there's a big problem. Pickle won't eat. For the past month, he's only consumed water, and Tokugawa explains that Pickle isn't a beast, but a proud fighter. He won't eat anything that isn't his prey. If it doesn't fight him, he won't bat an eye. They've thrown bulls at him, bears, lions, all types of stuff, but they all tuck their tails and run from Pickle out of raw instinct. Up until now, nothing that they've tried has worked, but there is one thing that they've been setting up. They spent a good chunk of money on getting their hands on one of this endangered species, as this beast hasn't eaten in 5 days. It's been specifically primed in order to fight Pickle. They bring out a Siberian tiger, the most powerful feline. It's sitting at over 15 feet long and over 1,000 pounds. This is the current most powerful beast in the world. This thing is huge, and as it makes its way into the ring, Pickle looks intrigued. Tiger sees Pickle as its prey, and Pickle sees it as the same. Instantly, he runs up on it and attacks. And just in one short interaction that we don't even get to see on camera, Pickle completely manhandles this thing, deforming it and breaking its entire structure in one attack. Even though the tiger wasn't able to put up much of a fight, since it attacked Pickle, he saw it as his prey and he gladly eats it. Somehow, word of this got out in the news and Professor Payne was forced to put out a comment on the situation. He explains how much of a miracle Pickle's existence is and tries to explain to everybody the significance of that. He knows that putting up an endangered species to be Pickle's food isn't fully right, but if that's the only thing that Pickle will eat, then they have no other choice. He would sacrifice all of the Siberian tigers left on Earth if he had to. Pickle's value is much more valuable than that of any species remaining. Of course, hearing this on national television, the people are outraged, and watching from home, Retsu decides to pay Tokugawa a little visit. He asks why Retsu's here, and Retsu wants more clarification on the Pickle situation. He knows that they're having trouble finding him things to eat, and that it's a big problem for everybody involved. Tokugawa breaks it down in the detail that Retsu had asked for, and Retsu offers a solution of his own. He asks Tokugawa, what if Retsu became Pickle's food? Tokugawa cannot believe his ears, but Retsu is dead serious. He's clearly thought about this for some time, and he's ready to act on it. Tokugawa isn't really too fond of the idea, but Retsu is insistent. They both know that Pickle needs food, and if no animal is willing to attack him and become his prey, then Retsu will do so. But of course, he explains that he has no intention of being eaten. This is all a way for him to get into the ring with Pickle and fight to his fullest. Tokugawa just smiles as Retsu declares it Pickle versus Retsu Kaio, the prehistoric man versus the pinnacle of Chinese martial arts. And being the fight junkie that he is, Tokugawa couldn't possibly turn that down. Professor Payne can't believe that both Tokugawa and Gary are okay with this strategy. If offering a Siberian tiger to be eaten wasn't enough, a human is completely outrageous. They're over here saying that it's fine because Retsu is offering to do this himself. But Payne is just going on and on about how it's not, though it's already too late. Walking up, Retsu just looks at Pickle sleeping there on the ground. He's honestly impressed that Pickle is sleeping in this position, completely defenseless. Most animals will naturally hide when they go to sleep, but this sleeping position shows complete dominance. Even in the era of dinosaurs, the most fierce creatures to walk the planet, this is the sleeping position that Pickle takes. Even among dinosaurs, he was still at the top of the food chain. In the crowd, both Gary and Tokugawa are curious to see how this will play out. The master of the past 4,000 years of Chinese martial arts versus Pickle and his natural power gifted to him by God. But Professor Payne interrupts once again, saying that this won't be a fight, it'll be a massacre. Retsu will get killed, but they both tell him to shut up. This is the first time that he's ever been told to shut up. He much more calmly asked them to understand what he's saying. They just saw this Siberian tiger get completely manhandled. A human wouldn't stand a chance. But in the middle of his explanation, Pickle sits up. Payne is worried that his rant had disturbed Pickle, but it wasn't that. Pickle sensed something else. We see Retsu walking towards him as Pickle stands to his feet for the first time. Against all other animals, besides the Siberian tiger, he had stayed on the ground. But Retsu's presence was enough to demand a more serious attitude. Retsu was indeed a worthy opponent. For the first time, Pickle takes a fighting stance, as Retsu knows that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He's gonna put everything on the line. Retsu's the first to step in as he gets into Pickle's range. As he attacks, he sends Retsu flying into the wall on the other edge of the arena. With just that one attack, Retsu knows that he can't compare in terms of strength. He'll have to fully rely on his martial arts techniques in order to win. Pickle runs back in for another attack, but Retsu does this turnaround sweep kick directly in his face, as he flings his hair into Pickle's eye, tripping him onto the ground and hitting him with another kick directly in the face. Pickle was knocked back by the flurry of attacks, but he sits right back up. And Retsu can't believe that he's barely taking any damage. He knows that a normal person would have died from an attack like that. He gives Pickle his props, and as Pickle runs in, Retsu deflects his left, responding with a kick and then a strike to his core, chaining it into a chop attack and these continuous hits over and over. Payne can't believe that Retsu is really getting this many hits off on Pickle. He's actually overpowering him. Retsu jumps up for this kick and proceeds to land even more consecutive hits directly to Pickle's chin, as by the end of it, he knows that Pickle must be going through thousands of concussions all at once. He's dealt a handful of deadly blows, but honestly, he doesn't want the fight to end. He's praying that Pickle survives this. Surely enough, he did. Pickle grabs him by the face, attacking him with this head strike to Retsu's chest as he just falls to his knees. Getting a closer look at him, Pickle is crying as he picks Retsu up, biting into his shoulder and eating him. Nobody can believe that Pickle is really eating this man right now, as Retsu finally responds with a knee to his gut, but Pickle bites once again. Retsu manages to put some distance between the two, but he's come to the realization that his punches do nothing to Pickle. Now, it's time for him to get serious. Retsu takes his shoes off, giving himself more control in full strength. He's pissed that Pickle is really eating him. As he goes in for a kick to his neck, Pickle responds with a strike, sending Retsu right to the ground. Just through pure strength, he's overpowering Retsu's mastery of the martial arts, as he can't believe that he's in a fight where martial arts has no effect. He's beginning to tear up, thanking the martial arts for everything that it's done for him, but right now, he must abandon it. Retsu Kaio was the name that was given to him by his master, but now he must defend that and the history of martial arts as Retsu Eishu, the name that was given to him by his parents. Retsu puts his arms up as the crowd doesn't know what he's about to do. It doesn't seem like he's about to do any martial arts, and in the ring, they're completely right. Retsu proceeds to use the windmill punch. He's running, crying, shouting, swinging his arms in circles. Pickle has no idea what's going on. Retsu abandoned everything that he was using before, technique-wise, and is going off of pure emotion. This was his absolute last resort, and Pickle isn't even fighting back. Compared to what he was just going up against, where he felt like he should have used his full strength, this is just pathetic. Pickle finally attacks, but Retsu instinctively retaliates through a kick. He's confused because he had decided to give up on his martial arts for this fight, but here he just did a martial arts move. Pickle attacks again, and Retsu retaliates with another martial arts move. He's doing this instinctively. He's more confused than ever, but suddenly he hears a voice calling out his name. Retsu, don't be so cold. Retsu asks who it is, as it answers, I am you. I'm the true Retsu Kaio, the one that you aspire to be. The moment that Retsu did that windmill punch, he had abandoned martial arts, but the martial arts never abandoned him. The ideal Retsu tells him that he's being tested. Don't think about shouldering the martial arts history. Don't think about the 4,000-year past. He's not to worry about defending it. Just surrender to his body and his training, or else he'll never be able to shoulder anything ever again. Pickle strikes, but confidently, Retsu retaliates with the martial arts that he knows and loves, trusting in his own abilities and everything that he stands for instead of abandoning it. He hits Pickle with a multitude of attacks, hitting him in the balls, grabbing his hair with his toes, bringing it down into a knee straight to the face, as finally, he manages to send Pickle right to the ground. After giving it up, he understands that this is what it means to shoulder the 4,000-year history of Chinese martial arts. Tokugawa and Gary are amazed at Retsu's strength, as even Professor Payne is impressed that Retsu was able to hold up this long against Pickle. They're confused because of how Payne worded it, saying that clearly Retsu won. But in the ring, as we see Pickle lift his head back up, Payne explains that he hasn't suffered any concussions like they may have thought. He calls back to when Pickle was discovered. Payne and his team of scientists ran all types of x-rays and experiments on his body to learn more about him, and what they found was that his spine was incredibly thick and durable, very different than what we find in humans today. It resembled much more of that of four-legged beasts, those with extremely large heads. Thanks to that extra strength and durability, Pickle hasn't really taken much damage from Retsu's attacks, as he was able to come to the conclusion that at one period in his life, Pickle was a quadruped. He walked on all fours. Retsu attacks, but Pickle jumps out of the way, and they realize that while the history of martial arts is incredible as it is, it was designed to be used against humans on two legs. Against a beast like this, using all four, those same rules of Chinese martial arts can't apply. Pickle aggressively screams at Retsu, as he's forced to lock in. He's in this stance extremely bent forward and low to the ground. Not like a sprinter or a sumo wrestler, but more similar to that of a lion preparing to attack its prey. Pickle is only worried about one thing, lunging forward. He won't dive to the side or jump up or go backwards, and Retsu says that in response to Pickle and his commitment to this forward lunge, he won't move out the way neither. He's gonna use the crushing fist, a move symbolic of kung fu. This is how he'll strike Pickle down. As Pickle loads up his lunge, he bursts towards Retsu, flinging his body. This is the type of attack that he uses against the strongest of enemies, the greatest enemies of back in his day. He felt that it was necessary to use here against Kaio Retsu. Retsu responds with his crushing fist, but he gets beamed right through the wall. He was the impenetrable defense of the modern times, going up against the unstoppable weapon of the past. And today, the weapon undeniably wins. Tokugawa can't believe that Retsu really just lost like that. Inside the ring, Pickle begins crying, much more than he was before, because now he knows what's about to happen. He begins walking towards Retsu as Pain tells Tokugawa that it's dinner time. Tokugawa can't believe that he actually wants to go through with letting Pickle eat Retsu, but Pain says that they were the ones who put him up to this in the first place. Pain had begged them not to, but they insisted. They can't lie on the promise that they gave Pickle at the very beginning, but Tokugawa doesn't care. He's not gonna lose one of his prize fighters like this. He runs up on Pickle, yelling at him, wondering if he's really gonna eat this man. He's going on about Retsu, but in the middle of his rant, Pickle hits him away, screaming. We cut forward to seeing Pickle eating the leg of Retsu, and while his appetite was strong, Pickle felt nothing but sorrow. This was his goodbye to Retsu, but from behind, Pain puts Pickle to sleep as Retsu just lies there on the ground. We fast forward to seeing Retsu in a hospital bed, and this is where the iconic scene occurs. I can't believe that this picture, which I seen before I even started the series, was Photoshopped, right? I mean, it makes sense. How you not gonna have no chest, no legs, no arms, no body at all? But Baki's so ridiculous that I imagine somehow it will be canon. Pickle is here, and he's obviously not here to play around. I can't wait to see what the rest of this arc is gonna turn into. If y'all enjoyed, y'all know what to do, bro. Like the video, subscribe. Well, y'all get it. I'll see y'all real soon. We out.